Good morning from the Waterside Inn on unchanged Chincoteague Island, Virginia. I'm still reporting on the economy. I recently received an email from Croatia asking for me to do a report urging Croatia not to enter the EU. Croatia has just finished 6 years of negotiations with the EU and is now slated for entry into the EU on July 2013. However, there is one problem. The Croatian people have to approve what's called the accession treaty with the European Union in a referendum, probably before the end of this year, 2011. If the voters approve, Croatia would have to give up its national sovereignty, especially its sovereign money, the kuna, and trade only in the euro. Why would anyone do that? The euro is lost. It's not working. There's talk of abandoning it in every nation that has adopted it, even Germany.
What is the most commonly used word in association with the euro? No, it's not failure, though it could be. No, it's stability, isn't it? A decade ago, everybody said, once we've got the euro currency, it will bring us stability. Well, I would suggest a decade on, what it has brought is chaos, discord and misery for millions. What you've done with this euro is you have trapped people in an economic prison. You've trapped people in a Volkerkerker. Whilst 60 years ago an iron curtain fell across Europe, today we have the iron fist of the European Commission, and we've seen it with Greece effectively being turned into a protectorate. Poor Greece, trapped inside the economic prison of the euro.
Once nations give up their national money, they give up everything. They completely lose control over the nation. Why would Croatia do that? It just won its full independence in 1995, 16 years ago, when they liberated their country in a war. But now the European Union also wants to fast-track Icelandic membership into the EU as well, explaining that it would be really nice if the two nations held hands and jumped into the economic lake of fire together. You know, a sort of mutual suicide pact. I wonder how the Vikings are going to take to the idea, since they've already voted against the bankers twice in the last year, and despite predictions of economic doom from none less than the Wall Street Journal the day before the vote, their economy is now roaring back to life. See Still Report number 18 for some of the humorous details surrounding that prediction.
Mr. Barroso, you said earlier we will stick to our course, and that means millions of people in Europe will be put through pain as you attempt to keep together this disastrous project that is the euro. It will fall to pieces, of that there can be no doubt. And now we have the situation in Ireland. Now I know that the stupidity and greed of Irish politicians has a lot to do with this. They should never ever have joined the euro. They suffered with low interest rates, a false boom and a massive bust. But look at your response to them. What they're being told, as their government's collapsing, is that it would be inappropriate for them to have a general election. In fact, Commissioner Wren here said they had to agree their budget first before they'd be allowed to have a general election. Just who the hell do you think you people are?
Croatia has a long and proud history of sovereign money. 2,000 years ago, during Roman times, the highly prized pelt of the kuna, similar to a mink or a Russian sable, was good for the payment of taxes. So naturally, once Croatia gained independence, the name kuna was adopted for the official currency to signify the importance of sovereign money. But then the international bankers started moving in. Now they have bought up all but one of the native Croatian banks. Today, only HPB, the Croatian postal bank, the 7th largest bank in Croatia, is locally owned. The international bankers then convinced the government to start borrowing money. The politicians said that borrowing was necessary to improve the nation's infrastructure. This is wrong. A nation with a sovereign money system never has to borrow. It can simply create the money it needs. So the politicians begin borrowing and building a modern highway system. But they hired the largest engineering company in the U.S., the Bechtel Company, to build it, minimizing the amount of money that actually stayed in Croatia from this new national debt. Like all nations, once the government starts to borrow, it becomes addicted to foreign money. It quickly forgets that borrowing is completely unnecessary for a sovereign nation. So what happened? In just 16 years, Croatia has run up a national debt that is 58% of GDP. What does that mean? It means that the amount of money Croatia owes, mostly to foreign banks, better known as their national debt, is only 58% of the value of all goods and services produced in Croatia in a single year. Now that might sound bad, but at least it's not as bad as the rest of Europe. That's less than Spain's debt of 60% of GDP, the UK 76%, France 82%, Germany 83%, the US 92%, Portugal 93% of GDP, Ireland 97%, Italy 119%, Iceland 126%, and Greece 142%. Now let's look at the debt levels carried by the few economies that are still thriving. Russia, 9%, Luxembourg, 15%, Hong Kong, 17%, Saudi Arabia, 17%, China, 19%, South Korea, 23%, Indonesia, 25%, Australia, 27%, and New Zealand, 30%. So Croatia can still escape the upcoming collapse of the euro, but only because it still has its sovereign national money. This will not be the case once they adopt the euro. Then Croatia will be at the mercy of the European Central Bank in Frankfurt, Germany, over which they will have zero control.
And yet the word stability, still being used this morning. Mr. Barroso used it, Mr. Van Rompuy used it. Stability. In fact, we're patting ourselves on the back that the bond auctions in Portugal went well last week, when the reality is it was the European Central Bank actually using taxpayers' money to buy their own debt. Your reassurances that all is well don't work. I mean, who do you think you're kidding, Mr. Van Rompuy? You even want to increase the scope of the bailout fund so that along with the ECB, you too can go on buying yet more of your own debt. You're using the crisis as a massive power grab to take us towards fiscal union. If you succeed, then we should change the name. Get rid of European Union, call it the Debt Union.
Just look where the euro is gaining popularity outside of Europe. In Cuba, North Korea, and Syria. Is that the club you want to join? The secret to freedom is deconsolidation of power, where power is spread out among we the people to the maximum extent that is practical. That's the essence of democratic republics, and that's the key to freedom, where we the people can control the political decisions. Without the money power, you can't do that. Croatia just escaped communism, the ultimate centralization of power. Why would it rush into another power trap with a happy euro face on it? That's not freedom. That's just a return to serfdom. That's what humanity has just spent the last 1,000 years escaping from.
You are very, very dangerous people indeed. Your obsession with creating this euro state means that you're happy to destroy democracy. You appear to be happy for millions and millions of people to be unemployed and to be poor. Untold millions must suffer so that your euro dream can continue.
Don't you see it? They addict your nation to borrowing, this so-called national debt, then suck you into giving up your independence, your monetary independence. Free citizens of Croatia and Iceland reject the European Union, reject the euro, and reject any more government borrowing. A nation does not have to borrow when a nation can create its money without debt. Both Croatia and Iceland, as well as the US, the UK, Sweden, Norway, and many other nations, still have a sovereign money. That's a gift of God. Use it. Don't give it up for the sake of freedom for your children and grandchildren. Please see my book, No More National Debt, for details. I'm still reporting from Chincoteague Island. Good morning.